hailing from the feudal world of Eilini, the Iron Spears, Hestaferum in High Gothic, are a 22nd founding successor chapter of the noble Blood Angels. Operating from their fortress ministry of Dunberg, the Iron Spears are deployed across the Segmentum Obscurus and Segmentum Ultima. The chapter has been led by High Chieftain Fionn for nearly 5 centuries since his predecessor's passing in 634 M41. History. The Iron Spears chapter was created in the 37th millennium during the 22nd founding using the gene seed of Sanguinius. They were created to be a standing force for the northern regions of the Imperium. It was from the ranks of the Blood Angels that the first officers of the Iron Spears originated, including Rinal Boru, originally known as Samael, who was chosen to be the first chapter master. Even the Iron Spears' chosen homeworld is relatively near Bhaal. In early M38, the Imperium re-encountered the small Eldari craft world Fein that reappeared in subsector Eren. By the time of its reappearance, the craft world was badly damaged, but it was still considered a threat. Taking advantage of the situation, High Chieftain Kulan Nuada led several companies worth of marines in a massive and devastating assault on the craft world, managing to slay almost a third of the craft world's population before being recalled to fight elsewhere. In 236 M39, the population of the planet Mavros, homeworld of the Angels Vigilant chapter, attempted to secede from the Imperium. During the Mavros Revolution, the Angels Vigilant had entered a state of radio silence, never responding to any transmissions from the Greater Imperium. The Iron Spears were sent to quell the rebellion and investigate the radio silence. When they arrived on Mavros, they discovered temples, shrines, altars, and effigies built to the honor of Chaos Gods. As they cut through the hordes of cultists and reached the Angels' Vigilant Fortress Ministry, the Loyalists were assaulted by a unit of Death Company Marines bearing the Mark of Khorne. In the midst of the skirmish, the rest of the Angels' Vigilant chapter, now known as the Voidstalkers, emerged, revealing that they had fallen to chaos and that this renegade chapter was the mastermind behind the planetary secession. After a long and grueling battle against the Voidstalkers and their waves of chaos cultists, the Astartes force were forced to resort to exterminators. However, some of the Angels Vigilant escaped the planet aboard a lone battle barge and fled into the Eye of Terror. The Battle of Eilini took place in the year 677 M39 and pitted the Iron Spears chapter against several congregations of Voidstalkers who had returned after 441 years in hiding. The Voidstalkers were followed by many warbands from the Wordbearers and World Eaters, as well as a massive cultist army. The battle was initially largely in favor of the Iron Spears, whose monastery was protected by void shields, auto defenses, and a natural ring of impassable mountains with only one passage. For a time, the Iron Spears were able to exact heavy casualties among the traitors until they were betrayed by Gufrate, chieftain of the 10th Clan Company. During the battle, Gufrate was physically contacted and corrupted by Elimus, arch-sorcerer of the Voidstalkers. After falling to chaos, Chieftain Gufrate was responsible for disabling the fortress's automatic defense systems and opening the Black Stair Gate, allowing the traitors to storm Dunberg directly. Following this, High Chieftain Garment Moore gave the order to unleash the entire chapter's Death Company, which at the time contained 107 Grimbloods, upon the enemy. Despite the loss of the automated defenses and massive casualties, the Iron Spears prevented the enemy from breaching the innermost sections of the monastery. As the battle dragged on, Sept Leader Mershad was able to send out a distress call for reinforcements. The call was answered by companies from the Blood Angels and Broken Wings, who arrived to provide relief for the Iron Spears. The two Loyalist chapters were finally able to swiftly drive away the traitors, including Gofrate, now known as Telexis Battle Reaver. Despite successfully defending their homeworld and fortress ministry, 62% of the Iron Spears chapter, including the chapter master, had perished in battle. Sometime in the early 41st millennium, the Kern Vanguard discovered the orcs of Kilandros were attempting to convert their homeworld's moon into a mobile fortress dubbed the Great Rock, and it was believed they were planning to crash it into terror. The Imperials put together a fighting force consisting of several guard regiments, Astartes from the Iron Spears and Angels of Salvation chapter. the Imperium had underestimated the Orc presence and failed in their initial plan to disable the thrust system using melter bombs. Over the course of the battle, the Imperials managed to gain control of the area around the primary power generator and rigged it with manually activated incendiary devices. Though Iron Spear's forces initially refused to follow the rest of the Imperials in retreat and sought to slaughter every Orc present, the Angels of Salvation commander convinced the Marines that it would be against the will of the Emperor to waste an entire fighting force to a lost cause. Chieftain Thor, having had his honor stained in a previous engagement, elected to stay behind with the detonator while the other Imperial forces escaped in order to restore dignity to his name. The destruction of the primary power generator not only successfully destroyed the Great Rock's machinery, but also created massive tectonic upheavals that killed all the Orcs on the planetoid. Because of the Blood Angels' assistance in the defense of Eilini, the Iron Spears were one of the first chapters to respond to their predecessors' call for aid in the defense of Baal. The Iron Spears deployed most of their chapter and the entire Death Company, 166 Marines. Only the 10th Clan Company, 80 Marines, and the chapter's neophytes remained on Eilini. During the devastation of Baal, the Iron Spears stood side by side with the Sons of Sanguinius, together defending their ancestral home from the Tyrannid hordes with righteous ferocity. When the Imperial forces were forced back into the Arx Angelicum, the Iron Spears, along with 3 other Blood Angels' successors, sought to defend the Blood Angels' Reclusium from Xena's taint. It was only when it seemed that the Iron Spears were to be overrun did the resurrected Rebute Gilliman arrive with the forces of the Indomitus Crusade and drive out the Tyrannids. While they were offered enough Primaris Marines to almost completely rebuild the chapter, they only accepted 150, bringing the Iron Spears chapter to a total of 599 Marines. After less than 2.5 decades, the Iron Spears were able to make a full recovery and return to full strength. The Iron Spears chapter is organized into 10 companies known as the Clan Companies, or simply clans, with squads referred to as sets. The Iron Spears organization is very similar to the Codex organization, the main difference being that the Iron Spears do not have a scout company. Rather, 5 unbloodied sets, containing 5 unbloodied each, are attached to every battle company in order for neophytes to gain combat experience. The 10th Clan Company is made up of 2 rotating seps from each reserve company for a total of 8 squads and 80 Marines. The 10th Clan Company is charged with the defense of the Fortress Ministry and almost never leave their home system. With the introduction of Primaris Marines, a small amount of Primaris would be integrated alongside the Firstborn. The High Chieftain is the Iron Spear's term for the Chapter Master. The High Chieftain is typically one of the oldest Marines in the chapter, utilizing his centuries of experience in order to best lead the chapter. The High Chieftain also serves as the High King of Eilini and Ibricane, as well as the de facto Iron Spear's representative to the Celtic Sector Council. Chieftains are the Iron Spear's equivalent of captains. Chieftains lead clan companies into battle directly, typically near the front of the assault. Sept leaders are the Iron Spear's equivalent of sergeants. Sept leaders are tasked with leading the chapter's septs into battle. Clerics serve as the chapter's chaplains. They are responsible for the mental and spiritual well-being for all the battle brothers. In battle, they maintain morale by chanting litanies of the Iron Spear's glory in their native Eilinian language. Whenever a battle brother becomes entombed within a revenant, it is the clerics that inscribe prayers into its chassis. Whenever a battle brother succumbs to the Black Rage, it is up to clerics to paint the Marine's armor black, place sacred scrolls and seals upon the armor, and seal the Marine away in the depths of Sacrare. Druids are the chapter's librarians. Like the Space Wolves, the Druids of the Iron Spears do not believe their powers originate from the warp. Rather, they believe that they gain their power from the elemental spirits of their homeworld Eilini and its moon Ibricane. Shamans are the chapter's apothecaries. Alongside the duties apothecaries from every chapter perform, Iron Spear shamans also make use of esoteric healing rituals originating from the native Eilinians. Blacksmiths serve as chapter's tech marines. Aside from a unique name, Iron Spear's blacksmiths perform no unique duties. Old Bloods make up the chapter's veterans and as such are the most elite and experienced marines the Iron Spears have to offer. The chapter's neophytes are referred to as unbloodied. Unlike other chapters, neophytes are not placed into a scout company, rather they are placed in an unbloodied sept and attached to a battle company. This is done so that each neophyte already has sufficient battle experience for when they become full Battle Brothers. Battle Brothers make up the bulk of the Iron Spears chapter. Battle Brothers are divided into 3 types: Stormbloods, Tactical Marines, Hellbloods, Devastator Marines, and Skybloods, Assault Marines. Grimbloods are those Marines who have succumbed to the Black Rage. When not in battle, Grimbloods are sealed within the Dubsecraire. Revenant is a unique term the Iron Spears use to refer to their dreadnoughts. The Iron Spears are masters of shock assaults, ferociously charging headlong at their enemies with overwhelming strength, savage fury in their eyes, and burning rage in their hearts. Once they get close enough, Battle Brothers engage in vicious close-quarters combat, either hacking at their enemies with melee weapons or blasting at them with ranged weapons. The Iron Spears attack relentlessly, using all their might to crush and annihilate their foes as swiftly and violently as they can. Though, through this, they are able to disrupt their enemies' perception of the battlefield and destroy their will to fight, all the while they carry out their duties with an unnerving amount of zeal. As seemingly barbaric as they are, the Iron Spears still strive to be as honorable as possible and are akin to noble savages. They are also noted as being less violent than chapters like the Knights of Blood or the Marines Malevolent. Even with the somewhat destructive combat doctrine, the Iron Spears make a meticulous effort to prevent or at least minimize civilian casualties. Like all those descended from Sanguinius, the Iron Spears are unflinching in the face of the enemy. However, the chapter seems to take bravery to an extreme level. The concept of retreat is almost anathema to the Iron Spears, sometimes regardless of whether or not such an action is advantageous. They tenaciously push towards their foes full force and will continue to fight until they are physically unable. It would require extreme casualties for Iron Spear's force commanders to even consider the option of losing so much as an inch of ground. Despite the high casualty rate attributed to the chapter's chosen combat doctrine, the Iron Spears have somehow always managed to fully recover and return to full strength faster than most other chapters. The Iron Spears desire to continue fighting no matter what, which means that the Iron Spears typically have almost twice as many dreadnoughts at their disposal compared to the other chapters, as well as a much larger death company than other Blood Angel successors. Chapter Beliefs. The chapter cult revolves around zealous and near-fanatical reverence towards Sanguinius. Mighty statues of the Primarch grace the Dunbarish's halls alongside chapter heroes, and his words are taught and read by every battle brother. Some inquisitors of the Ordo Hereticus suspect the Iron Spears of worshipping Sanguinius above the Emperor himself, but such accusations have been continuously denied by the chapter. Although Primaris Marines were openly welcomed into the chapter, the Iron Spears remain wary of what they consider their semi-heretical and non-Ailinian origins, only maintaining 80 Primaris Marines at any given time, 100 at the most. Every other Marine is created using the old-fashioned method. Unlike other Blood Angel successors, the Iron Spears rarely administer the Emperor's peace to brothers suffering from the Black Rage. Rather, they believe that every battle brother deserves a glorious death in combat, no matter the affliction. They also believe that even when suffering from Black Rage, they are still capable of fighting the enemies of man in the name of the Emperor and Sanguinius. As such, members of the chapter who suffer from the Black Rage and are inducted into the Death Company put into stasis and locked away in the Dubsecraire, Dark Sanctum, until they are needed. The Iron Spears are also known to cover members of the Death Company in numerous seals and scrolls filled with prayers and litanies. The Iron Spears hail from the planet Ailini, a frozen feudal or death world made up of towering mountain ranges, exposed crystals, deep gorges, and expansive frozen wastelands. Ailini is a very dangerous and unforgiving place, from its hostile environment to the large ferocious beasts that inhabit it. Ailini is home to 2 groups of humans. There are those that reside in the city-states with a feudalistic government structure, and those from the barbarian tribes of the ice wastes of Outer Ailini. Overall, the culture of Ailini is very similar to the culture of the Celtic people from Terra's ancient past. Ailini is orbited by a single moon, known as Ibricane. Ibricane is a feral moon, covered in tundras and boreal forests, that serves as the chapter's secondary source of recruits. The Iron Spear's fortress ministry of Dunberge is built on a large snow plain, surrounded almost entirely by a ring of mountains called the Black Mountains, creating a natural protective barrier that is used to keep out the tribal populace. The only opening in the Black Mountains is the narrow Blackstair Pass. The chapter takes great pride in the artful decoration of their monastery. Statues of their Primarch and chapter heroes grace the halls, mighty tapestries hang from the ceilings, and great murals line the walls and floors. In the deepest reaches of the fortress ministry lies the Dubsecrair, the Dark Sanctum. It is here that those battle brothers suffering from the Black Rage are locked away until they are called upon to fight in the name of Sanguinius. The Dubsecrair usually contains 100 or more Death Company Marines at any given time. The Iron Spear's dogma holds that nothing related to their foes should remain standing. Battle brothers are driven by a desire to burn the enemy's corpse, destroy his works, and go to great lengths to sweep away everything related to him. This has sometimes led to Iron Spear's forces refusing to relent even when the opposing forces have already surrendered. This specific belief stems from the chapter's honor code, which states that once someone has made a decision, they must follow through with it until the bitter end and accept the consequences of their actions. In a similar manner to the Salamanders and Space Wolves, the Iron Spears seem to have a sense of respect for loyal Imperial citizens. As children of Sanguinius and harbingers of Emperor's will, the Iron Spears believe that they have a duty of care and an obligation to aid and protect loyal citizens of the Imperium no matter the cost. Even with their destructive combat doctrine, the Iron Spears make a meticulous effort to prevent or at least minimize civilian casualties. Battle Brothers of the Iron Spears chapter are known to become so engrossed in their mission that anything else is regarded as a secondary concern. The Iron Spears have no concept of the notion of defeat and would rather die a glorious death than accept that they have lost. They are unwavering in the face of adversity and are capable of the most awe-inspiring feats of courage. Yet, on occasion, stubbornness of Battle Brothers has been to the detriment of the larger strategic situation. Like their progenitors, the Iron Spears also have an appreciation for fine art and poetry, but like with everything in their chapter, is filled with the iconography of Eilini. For instance, poetry is done in the Eilinian language. The chapter's love of art is evident in the decoration of their fortress ministry. Some Battle Brothers adorn their armor in various symbols, icons and imagery. Icons of Sanguinius and blood are used out of respect for their Primarch and progenitors, and various Eilinian cultural imagery, including tartan pattern loincloths, animal pelts, animal teeth and bones, and tribal war paint, are used out of respect for the native Eilinians from which the chapter originates. One of the more unique aspects of the Iron Spears have adopted from the Eilini's natives is the concept of feasting when not in battle. After every successful battle, the Iron Spears that partook in the conflict gather together for a quote-unquote feast. A feast consists of copious amounts of food and alcoholic drinks strong enough to affect the metabolism of an Astarte's warriors. This eating and drinking is always accompanied by loud singing and storytelling. Every 100 years or so, the Iron Spears hold a grand feast at their fortress ministry, where the whole chapter gathers in joyous celebration.